What's up, guys? So today I'm back on the KX85 budget build, and last time I left you we got the cases split and the transmission tore apart and got the bare cases sitting out on the bench. So today my goal is to clean the cases up first and foremost, and then start pulling bearings and see if we can get a crank stuffed in this thing. So let's get after it. Okay, so in doing this, cleaning up these outer cases, you want to clean this mounting face right here of this case, and then obviously this case. And all you really need to do it, well, at least what I use to do it, is just a regular good old-fashioned razor blade and a red scuff pad. So hit it with the razor blade, get the silicone and gaskets off, go over it with that, and you're good to go. So let me show you guys one more tip when cleaning these surfaces on these cases that will help you in the long run and will help eliminate any oil leaks in the future. So when you're cleaning it, take a pick, especially if these are a silicone together, and run it around the base of the hole right here, or the opening of the hole, and pull that chunk of silicone out. And then one other thing I'll do is I'll run a thread chaser down through the threaded side of these cases to clean out any garbage or any dirt or debris, because the reason I do that is when you make these surfaces together, if it pushes a piece of dirt or silicone out of there and gets between the cases and the gasket, you're gonna have a small oil leak right there. So just one more little tip to do when you're doing these cases to prevent any kind of problems in the future. See all that garbage coming out of that hole? This is why you run a tap down through it, because that's going to do the same thing when you put a bolt back down in it. And you don't want that getting in between the gaskets or giving you any kind of grease. Okay, so all the bolt holes are cleaned out, ran a tap through them, and you've seen all the junk coming out of them. So that's one step I highly suggest you guys do if you're doing this project. So next step is I've got my blind hole puller out, and we're gonna press some crank bearings out of this thing and then move on to transmission bearings and then get them installed and reassemble this bugger. And just like that, bearings are out of that case. So the tool I use is, like I said, is a blind hole or blind bearing puller. You can buy these things on Amazon or off the internet or Harbor Freight or whatever for not very expensive, or you can spend the money and buy super expensive ones. These ones, they were pretty cheap. I think I got it just off Amazon. But that being said, the next step is to take the new bearings, and I'm gonna go stick those and the crank in the freezer overnight so they'll shrink a little bit. So when I go to put these in the cases, I don't have to fight it and I don't have to press anything in. They'll literally just drop right in the cases. So I'm gonna get after that and get the other side tore apart and get these put in the freezer, and we'll see what we can do to get this thing put together, but that'll probably be tomorrow. All right, so the bearings have been in the freezer for a couple hours and they're nice and chilly. So I'm gonna go ahead and heat the cases up for the bearing seat, and we're gonna drop some bearings inside the cases, and hopefully we don't have to get too Western with these things and they just kind of fall right in. But I'm gonna turn the camera around and we're gonna get after it. Love it when it does that. Perfect. Fell into place. Okay, there you have it. All the bearings are in both sides of the cases. Only thing I have left to do is put the seals for the crankshaft in each side of the case, this side and that side, and then press the crank bearings into each case. But I'm actually going to wait and do that tomorrow because those bearings are quite a bit bigger, and I'm going to let them freeze in the freezer overnight to get them as small as possible, just to make them go in a little bit easier, because those tend to be just a little bit harder to press into cases. And the other thing of it is I can't heat this case up quite as much because the seal will go in first and then the bearing will drop in. So that makes it just a little bit more difficult than like on the CR500s where the seals come in from the outside. So anyways, I'm gonna call it a night tonight, and tomorrow we'll get right back after it. Good morning, dirt bike folks. So when we left off last night, I just put the bearings and the crank in the freezer. It's been sitting in there overnight, so it should be nice and froze. And come out this morning, pressed the new seals in the cases, and hung the case up in front of the heater to get it to kind of expand a little bit, because I can't take my torch and heat that case up because the seal's in first. So let me show you what I've done to warm this case up. Never done it this way. We'll see if it works, but I think it should. So we got the old heater going, the old shop heater. We got the case hanging from the ceiling there, and it's just blowing hot air on there, and that thing is actually getting pretty dang toasty. So I think that's gonna work good. So I'm gonna go get the bearings out of the freezer, get them out here on the bench, and then pull this thing down, and we'll drop some bearings in it. We'll see how it works. I bet I have to tap it just a little bit to get it to seat, but I bet it goes in pretty easy. Fingers crossed. Hot. Jeez. Cool beans. Oh yeah, that one was perfect. Love it. we got the transmission put back in the cases, and I'm gonna show you one more trick before we go ahead and install the crank that I do that could potentially save you a lot of headache in the long run, and it really only takes a couple of minutes. So what I'm gonna do before I drop the crank in it, I'm actually gonna take the other half of the case, put on top of the transmission side of the case, and I'm gonna cycle through the gears and make sure everything shifts correctly. It has all the gears in this bike, it's got 6, and it makes it a lot easier to fix it now than after you assemble it with the crank, where you gotta press the case off and clean the silicone off in this case. And so it's just one extra step that could save you a ton of time. I don't see having any problems with this one, but I'm gonna go ahead and do that real quick and then tear it back apart, and we'll drop the case in and put it together for one final time. That should be first gear right there. First, neutral. Come on, baby. Roll over. Yep, see? It won't come out of neutral in a second. So something is not correct on the shift drum side of it. Or is it right there? I think it's right there, actually. Huh. Yep, so we've got a problem. It won't come out of neutral into second. So this is why we do that. I'm gonna tear this case back off and see what's not quite right on the shift drum. Aha. Okay, I had one shift fork on the wrong side of the shift drum, so that should fix it, in theory. All right, so I got it, but keep in mind, all the gears and everything inside of this transmission are dry, so they're not gonna wanna slide and be happy. So, had one little ear on the shift drum that I had in the wrong direction so it wouldn't go, but took it apart, we're good to go now. So now, I can put the roller back on the gear selector shaft and pull the cases apart and drop the crank in it. All right, let's drop the crank in. Ooh, she's nice and chilly. Nice and chilly. Come on, baby. Ha! Can't beat that. All sitting pretty, new bearings installed, new crank installed, transmission bearings have been gone through and changed. Don't forget your vent hose, boys. Those things suck if you don't get them in the first go around. But yeah, she spins free, no growling noises, no nothing, you know, that acts like it should. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the transmission clutch side put together and get the stator side put together. We'll throw a jug on this thing and it'll be done. All right, bottom end's all put together. Now all I gotta do is grab this new clutch stuff. So the biggest reason it put junk and metal flakes throughout the whole bottom end of this bike is, like I said, that primary gear came loose and chewed through the back side of the basket. I'll put a picture down here in just a second. And I'm gonna replace it with a brand new Wiseco. This is a forged basket, so it's good stuff. And so I gotta take the old one apart, grab a bunch of stuff out of the old one and put in the new one. Gonna soak the plates overnight, and then we'll get this thing put together and get the transmission side of this thing put together, or the clutch side of this thing put together, and do the water pump side of the case, put that side together, and then I can start assembling the brand new jug and top end. But before I do that, I've got to take the old power valve out of it because it was so nasty and so dirty. It was actually stuck. It had no movement in it at all. So I'm almost needing to wait for my repair manual that I ordered for this because I'm a Honda guy. I don't work on Kawasaki stuff, so I didn't have a book for it. I got one on order. It's supposed to be here today, hopefully, because otherwise I'm gonna be kind of guessing on this stuff. It's pretty simple, but I'd rather have a parts diagram to refer back to. So anyways, I'm gonna get the clutch put together on this thing. Actually, I'm gonna get the clutch basket put together on this thing and get it installed in the motor and then see where we're at from there. So this is why I'm probably gonna wait for the repair manual. This bike came to me in pieces. I didn't take any of this apart right here. Everything I took apart, I've got back together because, you know, I could kind of somewhat remember how it went together, but this, I'm not certain on. So that being said, before I get too carried away on a lot of this stuff, I'm gonna wait for the manual so I have a reference. But let me show you why I'm changing the basket on this thing. See that? That primary drive gear came across there and just chewed the crap out of that clutch basket. So there's the old one. There's the new one. So now all I gotta do is unbolt this drive gear, put it on this one with the rubbers inside of it, and we'll be ready to rock and roll. Oh, the joys of a box project. Like I said before, this bike I got basically in boxes because someone else tore it apart, and long story short, it ended up here instead of having them fix it. So let me show you what I found. I went to go assemble the right-hand outer case, which, you know, holds the water pump and the governor for the power valve. And I found some problems with the power valve governor. So let me flip the camera around and show you what I found. Okay, so what we have is this shaft goes right down through here, and this hooks to the actual power valve in the cylinder. Well, these teeth right here ride on this governor. So as this hits certain RPMs, it takes this and it spins that, which opens and closes the power valve, which is great. The problem of it is, if I can get my camera to focus here, as I turn this governor around, you see all those chewed up marks right there on the governor? So this power valve was actually seized up when I took the cylinder off. So that right there caused wear on this governor. So I can't put this thing together like that. That power valve will never work correctly. So that being said, I'm gonna have to order more parts. So looks like I'm pretty much done for the day. So I'm gonna go sit down at the computer and make a parts list on a few other things I need that didn't come in the kit, in the engine kit. And we'll get after it again another day. As always, I appreciate you guys watching, and don't forget to like and share, and definitely subscribe. Hit the subscribe button, and we'll catch you guys later.